pleasant good morning to everyone. Welcome back to the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Happy New Year. It's been a while since we visited with you here on the Black College Sports Network. We're going to introduce the panel right off because we got some things to talk about, catch up on. One being SWAC basketball has returned in 2025. Now they're into conference play. We're going to take a look at some of the matchups from this past Thursday with the women, and then get you caught up on today's action. Also, since the last time we talked, there's been some HBCU football hires that we'll get the panel's perspective on. And look, there they are. Charles, Willa Brown, Happy New Year. Long time no see.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys.
Well, and happy New Year's to everyone in our viewing audience. Panel, we'll get right into it. Since the last time we talked, let's start off with some football hires. Deshaun Jackson at Delaware State. Also, Coach Shade at Alabama A&M and Coach Jackson at Prairie View A&M. And I'll tell you what, Coach Jackson won the press conference. He's got everybody so excited coming from Valdosta State, playing for the Division II championships, which they did lose. But I can just say everybody's won the press conference right off the bat.
Well, Charles, and Carlos, how hard is it to lose the press conference? I mean, you know what the expectations are. You know why people are hiring you. You know our fan bases are rabid. They like to hear you come out of the block talking smack and all that sort of thing. But we all know the proof is in the pudding.
Mm-hmm.
So come back to me when you start bringing those kids in. When you start putting the X's and O's in place, come back to me when I get a chance to see your staff and who you've gotten to come in and help you and all that sort of thing. And then more importantly, come see me come next August and September, when it's time to take it off the paper and put it on the grass.
Charles, I wonder why they call AD. Who started that? The hardliner. Will Brown. And that's why I started off saying that they did win the press conference. I usually say time will tell. And, I wish all the new coaches success. But, Charles, it's going to be an exciting time. But then when you put it on the field, the product, that will be the telltale. And no, it won't be a 2-year contract. It won't be a 2-year contract, but we've talked about it. The days of 5 and 6 years up front, the sports climate now is you got to win and you got to win quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to get it going. And look, for Prairie View, obviously they got to get it going. And the same thing in Alabama A&M. People were playing today here. They got to get it going. Some people would say, Carlos, and you know how social media is, it can be messy. Some people said when Coach Shea was introduced, he lost the press conference when he said we're gonna win the SWAC West. Some people say, which is an honest mistake. I mean, that's the way I look at it. But you know how messy we are on social media. Us folks are messy on social media. They say you don't even know what division he plays in. So I overlook it, but some people don't. Some people kind of take that whatever way they want to take it. But yeah, I mean, the press conference is a pep rally, is really what it is. You got your fans in there, you got your cheerleaders in there, your president's there, everybody is excited. But now it's time to get to work. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. I'm really impressed with the two hires, obviously. I think, for Coach Shea and Alabama A&M, I thought they went through the process. You saw the names that were out there and somebody with Alabama ties. And then Coach Jackson at Prairie View, he's ready to go to work. He says, get on I-10, get on I-20. We'll see you in Atlanta. So I like it. I like the energy, but, we'll see. I think for Coach Shade, though, we're going to see week 2 of the 2025 football season. Alabama A&M hosts Alcorn State University at Cruz Stadium. So we'll see a test kind of right off the bat there. But looking forward to seeing how it goes, Carlos. Looking forward to day 2025 with these new coaches.
Yeah, and particularly with Coach Jackson, I didn't get a chance to look at the whole press conference, but one thing did stand out. He basically said, winning the SWAC, of course, that's obvious, but they want to be post-SWAC good or past SWAC good. They want to be one of the best FCS football programs in the FCS, and that's kind of refreshing because we know the conference. It's a duh moment. You got to win the conference, and that's no easy task sometimes. But to be better, that's going to be very interesting, and it'll be very interesting to follow his progress. Deshaun Jackson at Delaware State. Well, that's quote unquote in the classification of a celebrity coach. Tell me if I'm wrong. No head coaching experience, played in the NFL. But Delaware State is throwing it all behind him, saying that he's the guy that can get this program going. I just think it's going to be tough. He's going to have an outstanding staff around him. Of course, Michael Vick as well. So I'm not going to go on a tantrum about opportunities for the coaches that were in line that just simply got passed up because a name associated with a head coaching job for some is still the way to go. I disagree, but anyway.
Yeah, Carlos, I'm gonna use one of your favorite catchphrases. Two things can be true at the same time. You've been saying.
Wait a minute. What?
Two things can be true at the same time, Carlos Brown. That is one of your favorite phrases. It is absolutely correct. Mm-hmm. On one hand, you are correct. You do have coaches that have paid their dues, that have hit the rock hard, and have deserved the opportunity. That's the way we feel like it should be. But I'm just going to say this as someone who loves HBCUs, a product of one, graduated from one, works at one. We like to go with the hot hands. And right now you're seeing with Coach Sanders, that was a hot hand, even though he's moved on. You see Eddie George is the hot hand, was Coach of the Year in the conference, FCS playoffs. Mm-hmm. And even though we might disagree with it, you're seeing that this trend has not gone away. I said it a year ago, and it's going to continue. And even someone like Teddy Bridgewater, who's now on an NFL roster for the Detroit Lions, won a high school football championship. You cannot discount what he said to Kyle Mosley. He said 2 HBCUs have contacted him, kicking the tires on him. What does that say? That says
they're desperate.
Well, exactly.
That's the term I use.
And I would go out and say, out on a limb, to say that Norfolk State and Delaware State are probably borderline desperate. And I think for Mike Vick to go to Norfolk, being a Virginia guy, hey, they're trying to make the connection. Now he's got to hire the right coaches assisting him, and he's got to win some games at some point. We'll see. Deshaun Jackson, that's way out of the box. But again, it's a flyer. You take a chance on it. What have they done recently in football? What has Norfolk done recently? Dawson Odom's tried to give it a shot. Didn't work. So you're at a point, you do get to a point in which you say, you know what, we gotta swing for the fences. And that's what those two programs have done. And we'll see whether or not it works or not. So Carlos,
Charles, we gotta stop at some point in time. We gotta stop making excuses for our folk. I understand with being desperate and all that sort of thing. I understand that part right there. But at the same time, it just seems like we're not taking these kids into consideration when we make these moves. We're just thinking that somehow this celebrity thing is going to just blow up and things are going to happen in a positive nature, that sort of thing. My thing is, what happened to the basics? What happened to the nuts and bolts? What happened to looking for coaches who have development experience, that's able to develop kids, that's able to, coach kids, that, know the X's and O's, that sort of thing, that's able to recruit kids. Just seems like we just kind of thrown all that out the window for a huge name. And, we're the only entity where we allow on-the-job training to take place in our higher positions. We can't do that. The head football coach at your university, the athletic director at your university, the president at your university, these are not positions for on-the-job training. These are positions where people need to bring a certain skill to the table, that's going to be able to be transferred to the institution in a positive manner to where our kids are going to benefit accordingly. This ain't about winning the press conference and, all that sort of thing. We need to be looking out for these kids. Where is the development of these kids? Where does that come into play? Do you know anybody that can coach the offensive line? Do you know somebody that knows philosophy, from an offensive and a defensive point of view, that's going to be able to come in and run your offense, come in and run your defense? And those who say that it's not working, I saw a little thing there coming out of the chat room, it's working somewhere, obviously. Okay, maybe it's not working for us in particular areas, okay, but the direction that we're going in is not the direction that we need to go in order to fix it. That's not it.
I have a response to that, and look, I hate to say this, but I think I can say it because I'm a product of the HBCU and I care about the conferences. I care about the whole shebang. Part of the reason why, in my opinion, Wheeler Brown is our fault. It's our fault. We allow, because of the lack of processes, we allow these things to happen to where it's not tight knit enough to where you open the doors. It's like you leaving your house open, your windows open, your doors open. Nobody drives by it because nobody pays attention. But at some point, someone's going to see that your window is open, your door is open, and they're going to drive up to it and they're going to walk in it. We have to do a better job ourselves of tightening up our processes.
That's true. You're absolutely right, Charles.
That does not happen. I guarantee you're not going to call Ashley Robinson as a sideline coach and say, hey, I want to be the next head coach at Jackson State. It's not going to happen. Now, he took a chance on Dion, and it worked, okay? It worked. He gambled I think he gambled everything, and it worked out for him, and it worked out well. But the processes for Jackson State right now compared to 5 or 6 years ago wasn't there when they weren't winning, because they weren't winning for over a decade. Now it's as tight as tight can be. So some of it is our fault. We have to do better. And just the social media chatter and just the impression from outsiders, not us that are HBCU driven and born, but from outsiders looking into the way we do business. And I've heard this, and it hurts my heart from outsiders, Carlos and Wheeler Brown. People think we bush league. We bush league, the way we handle our business. So therefore, when that happens, you open yourself up for just about anyone to walk in and say, you know what, I can be the next head coach at Delaware State. I could be the next head coach at Norfolk State. I could be the next head coach at Mississippi Valley. They're looking for a coach right now. And so those type of things, that's our fault. We have to do better in tightening up our processes and just the way we handle business. And until that improves, not saying we're doing a bad job, but we can always do better, then that's when you won't find people that are just saying, I could be the next head coach at Valley or Alcorn or whatever the case. So in my opinion, just Charles Edmond, some of that stuff is our fault. And we have to do better at it and with it to keep that from happening. And so until that happens, you're going to find people on the sidelines. Ed Reed wants to get back into it. Ed Reed is on the sidelines waiting for somebody to screw it up. But the reason why Ed Reed
can he go back to his alma mater and coach?
Oh no, he can't.
See, you can't do that. And I'm gonna be more specific. It's some of our ADs. No offense, Wheeler. And let's start there. if and I saw somebody in the comments saying, "Stop hating on the celebrity coach." No, I'm not hating on the celebrity coach. I'm pro opportunity for our coaches that have, and Coach Greg said it a couple of weeks ago. You told us this is the process we need to do, and we've done that. And then you put somebody ahead of us, but because it's a name attached to it. That's all. If quote unquote those celebrity coaches really want to help, why don't you adopt an HBCU, come in and volunteer financially? You can support it, and then work your way up like everybody else.
Better yet, Carlos, help these kids in the formative years.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait until they're college kids and now you want to be involved in their development, that sort of thing. Go
Junior high,
on the
high
elementary
school.
level, go on the junior high school level, go on the high school level. Make a difference in these kids' lives in the early stages of their lives, not try to get in on the finished product, on the tail end. If you really want to help, help raise some funds for your favorite HBCU. Help
Mm-hmm.
help one of your HBCUs get a new locker room, or help them to be able to hire a full complement of coaches, or talk to a particular company in terms of helping them donate funds, or what have you. There's plenty Mr. and Mrs. Celebrity can do, to help us outside of us now paying you to be our head football coach. That's
Mm-hmm.
all. That's all I'm saying. Not hating, just looking at qualifications in terms of the skills necessary to get the job done. That's
Mm-hmm.
all. That's all.
Yeah.
But we're also in a situation where we're now, this is just in my opinion the way society is in every aspect of life. We are in a copycat society. So if it works at Walmart, then trust me, Kroger's gonna try it. If it works at Amazon, then Federal Express is gonna try it. So if it works at one HBCU, if it works at Tennessee State in Jackson, why not? Why not give it a shot? Especially if you're a program that's won 10 games in 5 years. Look at what Delaware State has done in football. Look at what the other schools have done in football. Look at what Norfolk's done in football. At some point, you want to try, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and there's going to be consequences if it doesn't work. Someone's going to be canned if Deshaun Jackson doesn't work out, if Mike Vick doesn't work out, if it's a disaster, someone's going to pay the price for it.
But are they really looking at the reason why they haven't been successful? Have they really undertaken, the things necessary to find out why they're not successful? And I guarantee you, and I'm on the outside looking in, that if I look at a Delaware State, or I look at a Norfolk State, 9 times out of 10, okay, the coaching aspect of it is not the reason why, or the major reason why they haven't been successful. I bet I can look at that budget. I bet I can look at other factors within to find out why they haven't been successful over the years. As opposed to me thinking that, well, let me get a celebrity head coach in here and that's the cure all, be all, end all. But that's not it. That ain't the reason why our schools have been in the basement. That ain't the reason why they will continue to be in the basement. If everybody thinking, folks just making bad coaching hires and that's the reason why things haven't worked, then they just kidding themselves. That ain't the reason. Well, let me put it this way. That ain't the sole reason. Out of 100%, that may count for 20% or maybe 25%. But what about this other 75% that we're neglecting? Is that going to be factored in? Is that going to be taken care of? On the flip side, are they going to give Michael Vick the resources necessary to hire top-notch coaches? Are they going to give Michael Vick the dollars necessary to hire a top-notch strength and conditioning coach? Are they going to give Michael Vick the dollars necessary to ensure that these kids are going to be going to class and APR is going to be that where it needs to be, and the whole 9 yards with that? Are they going to ensure that he's going to have a training table for the kids and the whole 9 yards that go with that? That's what I need to find out. I need to know those things.
I think the answer to that question, Wheeler, all you got to do is look at, and I think we talked about this before when Coach Sanders was at Jackson State, and I think Mike Vick and Deshaun Jackson going to have to get their checkbooks ready because they're going to have to put some of their own skin in the game, just like Coach Sanders did at Jackson State. That conference room that you see, that thing wasn't finished until Deion Sanders incorporated, I think, $170,000 or whatever it was that he put of his own money into it. So, yeah, Norfolk and Delaware are going to put some resources into it, I think, at the start just to get it going and just to show, hey, we're in it. But if they're honest, they're going to have to put a lot more in it, or Mike Vick or Deshaun Jackson or his friends or his supporters, people that love him and support him, that have deep pockets, will probably have to invest in that as well to help get it to where it needs to be. So there'll be some initial investments from those schools, but I think part of the reason why you hire the Eddie Georges. Eddie George has positive business solutions in Nashville. I'm sure there's some people in Nashville supporting him, supporting Tennessee State football. I think the same thing for Deshaun Jackson, the same thing for Mike Vick. They got a few dollars. They're going to have to put some of their skin in the game eventually. Maybe not right now, but eventually I think they're going to have to do that to help get the program where it needs to be, which is out of the ditch, because that's where their programs are right now. Get it off the ditch and onto the highway. And if they leave, then the program's in better shape than what they found it.
The old saying, time will tell on all of this. And, I look from a historical standpoint. Before Coach Sanders, would you say Jackson State was successful? Did they have a successful program? What? No.
They weren't chopped liver.
Overall.
Now. They weren't chopped liver.
No,
let's put it like that. Now they weren't chopped liver.
They had a few bumpy years in between. And by the way, I love TC Taylor to death. As Coach Graves said, he's done it the right way. Came in and got things done. You look at Southern, Jackson State, and FAMU. I could be wrong, but I don't think they have to go that route, quote unquote, the celebrity coach.
Southern hired Stump Mitchell. Would you put Stump Mitchell in that category?
Charles, you really? You're going to ask me that? You're going to ask me that? And that didn't work.
But you have to admit,
that didn't work. But guess what?
Carlos, maybe they were leaning in that direction. You think?
Who, Southern?
Yeah, you think?
Celebrity coach, is that what we're talking about?
You think?
No.
Never crossed their mind?
We had Coach Banks on, and he came and said, at Southern, we don't have to go that route. And they didn't.
Yeah.
They did.
But the question, though, is how many of our programs in the last 5 years or so have even thought privately about it? I guarantee you that there are probably more ADs, and I can share a story right now. There was a school that we played in the league that had a tailgate. Their school had a tailgate, and this is one of the programs that just recently hired a coach. That school had a tailgate. Some of their fans came to the tailgate. The AD came to the tailgate, and one fan told the AD, look, I'm disappointed in what's happening currently. We need to make a change. Just giving his opinion. And he asked the AD, not going to name the school or the AD, what do you think? And this AD said, you know what? I kind of like the celebrity coaching model. I like it. He said this has been confirmed to me at a dinner when we played that team. Now, they wound up not hiring a celebrity coach, but just for him to say that, for that person to say it, I think it's on a lot more people's minds than we think. If you talk to these ADs in the privacy of their own living rooms and their homes, for them to say that they probably have thought about it, that they're being honest.
Shame on them.
You got that right.
Shame
you
on
got
them.
that right. You got that right.
Shame, boy. I'm getting a lot of text messages about this segment, and one person said there were things. The plan was already in motion for JSU to get their facility upgrades, and somebody even questions um how much did he really put of his financial money into it. I'll just put that out there. I can't answer that.
I've heard that also from
Mm-hmm.
insiders. I've heard that also.
I'm just repeating what's been reported. I mean, because it was a story about it, and the figure that I heard was well over $100,000 to finish the project. That I'm just repeating.
Wow.
Yeah. Now whether
I don't know about that.
I
Where's
don't
some
know.
Jackson alarms in here?
Yeah, that's been reported. But I do believe though, a part of the reason why we go that route because they have a few bucks, they have some money, they have resources where they can get people on board to support them, whether they're CFOs, CEOs, and if they support them, they'll support them regardless of where they go. So I'm sure there are some people that supported Coach Sanders at Jackson State. When he left to go to Colorado, they pulled up stakes and went to Boulder with him, and I'm sure they're supporting him there too. So we'll see if Mike Vick and Deshaun Jackson are going to have those type of folks backing them to help him, which will help Norfolk State. That will help, obviously, Delaware State. We'll see. I don't know. It's way too early to tell. But I think that's a part of the reason, a small part, as to why they go that route. Big name, and you assume big name equals big money. And so you need money to help elevate your program. And so that's, to me, and I might be wrong, but I think that's a part of the reason. How much of a reason, we can debate that.
I think it's a desperate action. And I know in my personal life, when I have desperate actions, usually it doesn't end well.
That's
Sometimes
true.
you have to have a thought out plan, go through a process. It's short term, then you got long term where you want to get things done. And I just think it's just lazy. Just again, I'm for the guy. I've said this before, haven't I?
Mhm.
I'm for the guy that needs the opportunity. And Jeremiah, I love you to death, but no, celebrity coaches, to me, it's a better use for them to help, as has been stated in the first couple of segments, than just to give them the head coaching job and then just say wish things will go all right. And Coach Sanders keeps being brought up as an example of that. In that case, he got it done. He didn't get it done in that spring season the first year, but then he eventually got them some conference championships. Now,
Mhm.
at the end of the all, he was 0-2 in
Yeah.
postseason games. TC Taylor, and I'll be honest, he shocked me because he turned the team over, as far as through the portal, but he still got things done. And what did he do? He got their first postseason victory, I
Yeah.
believe, in a long time, if not ever. So
Yeah.
you look at Coach Graves, an assistant for many years. Now he's
Mhm.
gotten the opportunity. That's the
Mhm.
word, opportunity. And whether you fail or succeed will depend on multiple factors. I think Will was hitting at resources.
You get these
That's,
jobs. You get these
mhm,
jobs because you have reached the epitome of your craft.
mhm,
When you become a head coach, it's because you've done the work necessary, okay, to reach that level. This is the top of the line, the top of the profession, in our
mhm,
particular arena. And you've done the things necessary to reach that level or to be considered for that level. But when you just walk in the door and somebody hand it to you on a platter, that's not, that's not the way to go. And I keep saying this, keep beating this dead horse. Excuse me if I do. You know, it's our kids that will continue to suffer in the long run. Mike Vick can recruit a quarterback to come to Norfolk State.
Mm-hmm.
Can he recruit a top-notch offensive lineman? Can he recruit a top-notch defensive lineman?
Hmm.
Those are going to be the questions because
Yeah.
that's where the game is won up
Yeah.
front.
Yeah.
Do I know coaches that are willing to come in and help me achieve
Mm-hmm.
these goals? Coaches that know how to recruit, coaches that know how to do this, that, and the other. And Coach Graves had a perfect response the last time he was on. We tell our best and brightest to stay with us, work with us. Come to our schools. When you finish doing whatever it is that you're doing or what have you, come back to our schools, give to our schools, that sort of thing. And then when it's time to hire a coach, okay, we call ourselves going outside of the box. Hell, what kind of box are we going outside of? But we go against everything we have
Mm-hmm.
told our people to do in order to help us thrive, in order to help us survive, in order to help us move forward. We go against the grain on all that. Okay,
And Willa, if that was somebody else doing that to HBCUs, what would we do?
Yeah.
And so now we're doing the same thing that we talked about, not wanting that to happen to us. And again, Jackson State Southern FAMU has a historical sports program that have been successful. It just seems like everybody is forgetting. Well, they had a few down years. Bell, Coach Carmichael did well. These programs have done well. It seems like some people think that it's just a big space, a big dark hole where nothing was going on. You forget about Carmichael. What was the other guy that I met? Famous. He was tough on Southern University. I can't think of his name now. Help me out, Jackson State. Football coach.
Harold Jackson.
I said great, Charles.
Oh,
I said great coach.
WC
Gardner. WC Gardner.
Yeah. Okay.
So they've had outstanding programs. Now I know from the administrative side of Wheeler, and college athletics has changed, and so we when I say we HBCUs athletics got to treat it as a more of a business going forward because we see college athletics changing all the time. But let's not forget we've had some success at our programs. We really have. You can name them. Go down the line. So don't act like, well, we haven't had any success, so now we got to bring in, quote unquote, these type of coaches. And once again, if they want to have an impact, don't you find it interesting that Ed Reed, Lewis, and all of those guys? Now, let me go back while it's on my mind right now. Marshall Falk, I was told his representatives, his representatives contacted, certain schools, one where I'm at here in Baton Rouge. But it was not going to happen. Charles, it was not going to happen. And for those university and athletic programs that feel that that's the way that they think they have to go, God bless you. God bless you. But I'm glad some of our programs don't and won't go through that process, go that direction.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we go back to Jackson State, they went a decade, 10 years, with 3 head coaches, James Bell, Tony Hughes. They went through 3 coaches in a decade and didn't win. And then Deion Sanders, obviously. And Tony Hughes was the coach when Ashley Robinson was the AD and he let him go. And obviously that Sanders process was in motion. We went 20 years without a championship. Jay Hobson was hired. Remember, Jay Hobson was hired, and we won. Year 1, we were in contention. And that hire got so much, and that's not a celebrity hire, but I'm just saying we went a totally different way than a lot of people expected. And that hire got so much synergy around the conference. Even the athletic director at the time resigned after that hire was made, because the hire was made by our president and then President Homer at the time. So when you go a long period of time, we went 20 years in between winning championships from 94 to 2014. So when you have these type of droughts at some point in time, and even though, yes, you want to continue to get the coach that's worked his way up the ladder, but it comes at a point in which in today's time, in which your president's being pressured, boosters are being pressured, your board is being pressured to win and win now. Win now. There's no 3-year waiting period. Shade's got to get it going. A&M, A&M hasn't won the Magic City in 3 years. Prairie View, they're in a pretty good spot. I mean, I think they're a top 5 program, regardless with Coach Jackson coming in. They're still pretty good. He's gonna have to add to that. So there's pressure to win. There's pressure to win right now. But when you have a program that's been down a while, sometimes desperate times, unfortunately, call for desperate measures at times. And I think that's where Delaware State is. I think that's where Norfolk State is. And I think that's why they're doing what they're doing right now. In my opinion.
Charles, your president, even though he made the call by himself, at least he hired a qualified individual.
Right.
He hired a coach. Didn't have anything to do with celebrity or what have you. His only
experience
probably was the color of his skin, if anything, but at least he hired a coach.
Right.
And he laid the foundation for where you guys went in terms of moving forward. With McNair and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would have to give your president at that time a little credit. Granted, he went outside the box, but he went outside the box in terms of the color scheme. But he did not scrimp and save in terms of the skills necessary for a head coach. He brought in a coach.
Right.
He brought in somebody that could get after it, that could get the program back to where it needed to be, and then that person handed it off to, McNair, and things kind of roll forward from there.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I
like
guess
you say, they probably was desperate, but to the kids, it's not a business. We can say it's a business from our end, from the administrative end, that sort of thing. For those kids, it's not a business, and I'm expecting my kid to be coached up thoroughly. I'm expecting my kid to, eat the best of the best, to, work out, under strength and conditioning coaches that know the drill, that sort of thing. And, so for me, from that point of view, it's not a business.
Well, I think someone in the chat room put it right. A discussion that needs to be had. It's mixed. It's mixed emotions.
Yeah,
and that's true. As far as me, I'm going to stand on what I believe. And somebody in the chat room said, and I guess we're talking about specific football, but athletic programs means more than just football. And again, you have had success. It's different if you hadn't had any success. Now, so one of the persons in the chat room commented about Southern University and lean times as far as I'm assuming that it's talking about football. But Coach Richardson, then you had Coach Dawson Odoms had success. Especially I always kind of take a little shot there. Always getting second place, which is not bad unless you aspire to have that first place every once in a while. But it's just going to be a discussion that I guess continues to go on, Willa and Charles. I'm just not a fan of placing coaches ahead of other people that have had just needs the opportunity, and they paid the price. So we'll agree to disagree with some on that. When you guys talk about the Coach TC Taylor, put championship in front of it. the I love. They make great decisions based on, and get this part, better business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do see some of the comments, using when I use the word desperate. When you haven't won in 10 years and you're trying to get out of the hole, and you're a blue blood HBCU football program, and Jackson State's one of them. They've won with Big Daddy Carson, and we talk about W.C. Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't won in a while. When you haven't won in 10 years, you've got to do something.
Well,
And maybe the something isn't what we expect. Maybe the something isn't what we expected. I think I've named 2 examples right there. Who expected Deion Sanders to come to Jackson? Who expected Jay Hobson to come to Alcorn? And so when you get to that point, it is different. And the question is, does that different provide different results? Did provide different results. Carlos, you are correct. Wheeler Brown, you are correct. And everyone that wants to see the coach, the little guy, to come out, that's worked their butts off to get that opportunity, yes, I want to see that too. But unfortunately, we are in a situation right now where it's leaning and trending towards something else. And we can't discount that. I'm not going to discount the Teddy Bridgewater comments. He was contacted by 2 HBCUs. And what kind of experience does Teddy Bridgewater have? He just won a high school championship.
None.
But
and also for the record, my source again, thank you. It was 2 Division II.
Okay, well,
HBCU. So no, we got to put that out there for the record.
I agree.
And
I agree.
And again, I go back to, and I know you keep bringing up the part where they've been in a 10-year hole, and you were talking about Jackson State and Alcorn, but I don't think they have to be desperate. And somebody said, well, why are you using the term desperate? That means self-hate. No, it is what it is. And then somebody mentioned about recycled coaches. Well, yeah, they've had some quote-unquote recycled coaches. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for your institution, your football, your athletic programs. And the correct term is figurehead hires, because it doesn't belittle or show your own jealousy and hatred. It shows that you're just as qualified if given the opportunity. Leave Teddy Bright alone. That man. Well, Charles, he hasn't stepped into a coaching position.
Yeah.
When you were at JSU would have hired Deion Sanders if the opportunity presented itself.
No.
Hell no,
No.
Jeremiah.
No.
I missed that one.
No. Might have cost me my job, but that would have been okay.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go out on my
it would have cost me mine too.
On my sword. That's okay.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I'm not. Look, I understand there are trends, and to me, this is what it is. It's a trend. It looks nice. It looks sexy.
Yes. Yeah.
But again, it seemed like you had this young lady that you courted coming up, and y'all, you have an opportunity to take it to the next level. But then you happen to have roving eyes, and you see something that's just sexy and nice, and maybe I ought to give that a try. No, you better not. Stick with what you have and build. Now we gotta take a timeout. We were long overdue. The producer is probably gonna give me a couple of weeks off for that. We'll put a button in right now. We will agree to disagree. Some of us, if you're for the celebrity hire, the flavor of the week, go to the left. Go to the right if you believe in giving coaches opportunities that have paid the price and have done the homework, and just give them an opportunity. That's what we're talking about, opportunity. Then you'll go to the right. We'll take a timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
Tickets are on sale now for the 4th annual NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T, featuring Morehouse College and Tuskegee University. Don't miss this action-packed event happening at NBA All-Star 2025 and filled with competitive matchup and marching band performances celebrating HBCU pride. See you in the Bay. Morehouse College and Tuskegee University men's basketball teams were selected to compete in the 2025 NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T. The 4th annual NBA HBCU Classic will be played in the Bay Area as part of NBA All-Star 2025 and will once again celebrate the rich traditions, on-court athleticism, and commitment to excellence of the HBCU community. For tickets, visit nba.com/all-star.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Been about 3 weeks, so it's good to see everybody. What I'm going to do, excuse me, at the 12 o'clock, we'll just go to our basketball conversation. And by the way, Southern University basketball on the men's side went into the Texas two-step. I guess people are going to complain that I'm complaining about why it's always Prairie View and Texas Southern the first 2 games every year in the conference. It's because I can. But they went in there and they got 2 victories on the road, and that's tough. And now they got FAMU. FAMU today. I'll be in attendance at 3 p.m. And for the men's game, well, actually, for the women's game, and then following the women's game, the men's game. So we got about 10 minutes left in this hour. We'll finish up the conversation about do celebrity coaches, and this is how someone, let's see, keep it up, fam. Ed Reed and Ray Lewis want to coach, so they should get the opportunity to coach. Well, that's the opportunity, but not at Southern University. Excuse me, not at FAMU. And maybe I shouldn't talk for FAMU, but yeah, they deserve an opportunity, but not at our schools without going through the process.
Ed Reed had an opportunity. He was at Bethune-Cookman, and this right here is the reason why he's not at Bethune-Cookman today. If he just settled down a little bit and just kind of kept it closed, I think, with all the things that's happening there, new locker room, Reggie Theus showed that off recently, and getting some checks in and building some stuff. I think Ed Reed, if he had just settled down, I think, he could have got a broader look in terms of what was going on there, but he was off the rails right off the bat, and it never worked. So, and now he wants to get back in it. His name has come up at different places in the league. At least I don't know how serious it is. I don't know, but his name, we've seen his name out there. He wants to coach. He was at the Bayou Classic a couple of years ago in the and Grambling, President's Box, and Southern's. So, you know, he wants to get back in it. He wants to get back in it. I think he made a mistake with the tone, and he wants to get back in there somehow.
Wasn't he dancing with Carlos on the sideline last year?
Yeah.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, and somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Ed Reed's father worked at Southern University for a long time, so that may be the connection. Now, if that's not true, someone will definitely tell me about that. But you know what? Ed Reed is who he is, and even if he would have, got hired and stayed on at Bethune-Cookman, I think his personality, it would have been something else that would have come up. And you notice he hasn't been hired yet. Now,
Right.
Does he want to go to Mississippi Valley State? For those who like the celebrity coaches, maybe that's a home run there. His name, his finances, he can help. He can bring a great staff around him, former NFL players. By the way, they got football IQ, but the majority of them don't have experience. But guess what? Maybe I should throw my hat into one of these coaching hires. I mean, I don't have the big name like some of them do. I don't have the experience, but apparently that don't mean a damn thing. Experience.
The question is, would you give yourself the Carlos Brown contract?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. 2 years. If you don't get it, you're not moving in the right way. Well, we're going to have a deep conversation.
Carlos, you would. I mean, speaking of that, every time, and look, I've been at Alcorn 33 years, and it seems like we've had 33 ADs. Okay, I know we've had at least a dozen. And
why is that, Charles? Why do you think that is?
Oh, it's a variety of reasons for that.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about our athletic budget, and we've got the great tradition, but I mean, let's be honest. We have the second smallest athletic budget in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and we've made the most of it. We've won championships, and so the pride is there, the synergy is there. You get the right combination of talent. Our fan base is there, but it's just in trying to build it to where you want the resources within the university and the state. We don't have that as of right now, and so that's part of the frustration. And so you have ADs that get the experience and leave, put it on their resume, and they leave to go other places. And that's
like some football coaches.
Not like some football coaches.
I say some, one or two specifically, and that's kind of like a stepping stone, huh?
Yeah.
You don't have the quote unquote say experience. But you use HBCUs, you come in, and then after a couple of successful seasons, then you go off.
But that can be a positive. At the end of the day, it can be a positive that you're a stepping stone program. If people are leaving you in better shape than it was when they got there, that's helping to improve your lot, your standing, as you continue to move forward. Like some of these football jobs. You notice it's a stepping stone institution. I think I was reading somewhere about Valdosta, being a stepping stone football wise. They've gone through 3 coaches over the course of the last 6 years or so, that sort of thing. But the next coach has come in. Granted, they've left it better than it was when they left out of there, and with Tremaine. I mean, he goes right to the national championship game, after 2 years, 3 years, that sort of thing. Now he's springboard. Now the guy who was there before him did the same thing.
But you know what, Wheeler?
3 years or so.
But he has gone through the process. So, I wouldn't.
Yes, he did.
And he was at Texas Southern, right?
Yeah.
And then, so, again, he got his opportunity. He honed his craft.
Yes, he did.
He hired, and on paper, excellent hire.
On paper.
Now, but I'm sure some because they're all out there. I'm sure when Purview decided to hire a coach, there was a amount of them wanted them to quote unquote, our term today, celebrity hire. It was something that probably wanted that.
Probably so.
But I'm glad.
Thank God for Dr. Cavill. He wasn't having it.
Well, and it was mentioned Eddie George. Yeah, he started off tough, but it took him some time to get to the point where he's at. So those two always come up in the discussion. Okay, Coach Sanders and Coach Eddie George, and that's the only two. Now, Deshaun Jackson, time will tell. We'll see in a few years. It won't be 5 now. But it's interesting. Do you think he'll have 5 years to bring forth that program? So you say no.
But the problems are going to be the same.
I understand what you're saying.
Delaware State is just a tough place to coach at. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. It's hard to get kids there. You're in that northeast quarter. You have a lot of competition in terms of other FCS schools, that sort of thing. And it's tough. That's like being a coach at Morgan State. It's like being a coach at Howard University. You're in that quarter. You're in that northeast quarter. It's just tough all the way around. The only thing you have to sell is that you're an HBCU, okay? And for those kids in that area, okay, or in that northeast area, HBCU to them means North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, that sort of thing. So, if they want to get their HBCU fix, okay, they're going south in order to do so. They're going to A&T, they're going to Central, they're going to, one of the 10 Division II HBCUs in the state of North Carolina, that sort of thing. So there's too much other stuff in a little bit more favorable areas to choose from for them. Delaware State is in the same boat. It's tough. It's tough. And unless Deshaun has a magic formula or something, he's not going to be able to crack that nut either.
Yeah. I think, for me, Carlos, I'll just say, I don't think those coaches, I don't think Deshaun Jackson nor Mike Vick's going to get fired. I think what will probably happen, they'll get an opportunity either in the NFL or some other opportunity. They'll probably walk before they get fired. I don't think they're going to be long, and they're going to be there long enough to get fired. I say 3 years. If they don't go 5 and 6, there might be 2 or 3 win program. If they get it to 500, they've done their job. And if the NFL, turn over the next person. If the NFL comes calling, they're gonna hit the NFL. If a team calls Mike Vick in 2 years and wants him to be on that staff, he's gone. If someone calls Deshaun Jackson, wants him to be on the NFL staff, he's gone. So 2 to 3 years max. But I don't think they're gonna get fired. I think they'll leave before that happens.
Well, if they leave it in better condition than they found it, then I guess you could say it's success. If they don't, well, we'll call it what it is.
Carlos, quickly, you talk about stepping stone programs right here at Alcorn football. Jay Hobson was hired. He leaves here, goes to USM. Willie Simmons was our offensive coordinator. He leaves here. He goes to Prairie View, FAMU, now Duke, and you see where he is. Cedric Thomas was hired here. He leaves here. He goes to USM, was the head coach at UAPB. So, like Wheeler Brown said, there are some programs that you get in, and then you kind of build your resume from there.
But those guys paid the price. They came through the process.
Right.
It wasn't.
Now, Carlos, the onus is on the athletic directors to make these guys head coaches.
Goes back to the decisions that he made.
I gotta teach Michael Vick how to be a head coach. I gotta teach Deshaun Jackson how to be a head coach. I got to help them navigate the waters necessary, the politics necessary in order to thrive on this level. I got to do that. On top of keeping track of 16, 17 other sports, 16, 17 other head coaches, 300 plus student athletes. Okay, now I got to teach a head coach, somebody who should have had the training necessary to become a head coach. I got to teach them now how to become a head coach.
Good point. Well, we'll definitely wrap it up on this. The discussion will continue. Those in favor of opportunities for head football coaches and those who said, hey, we need to try something new. Let's go with the quote unquote coaches with great names, but with no coaching experience. Might as well give them a shot. Basketball, conference basketball. Charles, Willard, I said earlier, Southern University on the men's side, but let's go to the women's side. Big game. Let's give some kudos. When we talked last week, we said let's re-rank the teams based on non-conference, and we all kind of agreed that Alabama A&M women were at the at the top. Lo and behold, they go on the road, and Jackson State says, not so fast, not so fast. And they defeated Alabama A&M 65-55. Now, I got a chance to see Alabama A&M as I was having a Sunday lunch. And on ESPN or the SEC Network, they were playing Vanderbilt. I was impressed. Coach Don Brown doing a good job. But Jackson State women said not so fast. This race is not won by the swiftest, but the one who endures. So, Thursday, Jackson State over Alabama A&M 65-55. It was TSU. And by the way, they started off their conference play with a big victory over, I believe it was Grambling State's women. And TSU over Mississippi Valley State 80-54. It was Southern over Bethune-Cookman 73-56. And then Alcorn State with a big victory Thursday against Alabama State, previously undefeated in conference play. So here we go for hot topic number 2. And I'm sure it's going to be hot. Based on the non-conference records in the chat room, are you excited, not excited, or does it, as Charles would say, it doesn't matter a hill of beans? It's all about the conference play. So, are you excited? And then attendance for Thursday, I still think it's too early to give a good assessment. Maybe when school the semester starts, we'll see a peak in the attendance. But Alabama A&M, Jackson State, Southern University women, and TSU women, to me, pretty good so far in conference play.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be wide open, Carlos. It's early, the first weekend. I mean, in years past, we would have said on the women's side, Jackson State and everybody else, but now you can't say that necessarily. Southern University has done well. Alabama A&M, they struggled in the second half against Jackson State, but you got to put them up there. Southern, Jackson, Alabama A&M. It's a big game for the Lady Braves. If we can win this game today before we go to Texas, you can put Alcorn in that race. So I think I'm excited because it's a little more wide open to me. On any given day, you can get knocked off, where that's always been the case. But at the top, you kind of knew who was at the top on the women's side. But I can say this about Jackson State, watching them the other day, and they won the other night against Alabama A&M. Their team, they may not be as tall and long. They play together. And as Nate Kilbert said on the show, they played for each other. And that's kind of Margaret Richards' MO. When she was at Alabama A&M with 7 players, it was that way. And you see that, they're growing up every day there. And, because it's a lot of pressure on Coach Richards because of what Tamika Reed did. Unfortunately, that's just the way it's set up. But I think on the women's side, there's a number of teams. Coach Ski, a little pressure there, but she started out fast. So I think it could be a little more wide open on the women's side. You can put 4 teams in the bag right now early on, and you pick one, and you wouldn't be wrong.
And of course, and Willa, that's why it's called the race. It's so early now. And you kind of look at some teams that are trending. I mentioned TSU. Again, the tradition that Coach Reed has left at Jackson State, they're going to say we're still in this. And sometimes, and I was listening to Charles. They maybe not as tall, maybe not as talented, but sometimes team can put you where you need to be if you don't have per se the talent. I'm not saying that they don't have talent.
I think you check back at the end of the month, around the end of January. You check back and revisit this topic, and I think you'll see it start to level out a little bit more, that sort of thing. You'll start to see who the pretenders and the contenders are, that sort of thing. But I think, like you said, coming off of the, non-conference season, everybody's pretty much in the same boat. Nobody's really done exceptionally well, but now they're starting to play each other and, get into the competition in terms of SWAC play. You'll start to see around the end of January, it start to kind of level out a bit and kind of get a better feel for, who the contenders could possibly be. Yeah.
And on the men's side, you had some teams that had some nice group of 5 wins, if we can put it that way in basketball. And with Southern University, I had a good talk with Coach Johnson, and Demasi is really he may not play the rest of the year. He may not play the rest of the year, and that team that was brought in players, it was kind of built around him. And so they also lost a 6'8" sophomore who played last year, the 6'8" guy. And so this team, in spite of that, has still been able to get off to a good start. And so on the men's side, yeah, and I'm being objective, I think you have to put when we talked earlier, Grambling State, which they've gotten off to a slow start, 0-2. So I think you got to put Southern up there at the top as far as on the men's side. But now, Charles, 2 and 3, who would it be? And by the way, Coach Johnson told me the team that he is really looked at that you got to watch out for is Alabama State on the men's side.
Yeah. I'm gonna put Southern up there, number 1. I think Southern University, that was huge coming off that Texas swing. Texas Southern's going to get better as the year goes on. They're going to make that push once you get into March. It's good to get them early. It's good to win in Texas early. We go to Texas next week. So that's a big road trip for us. I'm going to put Alabama State up there. I think Coach Medlock's doing a good job there. A lot of people were looking at him before, but this year he's got it going for number 2. So Southern Alabama State, and then Jackson State with a big win here. I would put Jackson State kind of up there as well in that number 3. They got a big game today at home. We'll see if that momentum after the Alcorn win here last week. We'll see if Jackson State can add to that momentum. So those kind of be my top 3 teams, and then Alabama A&M would obviously be up there as well.
Well, now and again, this is based off on Coach Johnson. Who's really improved, and watch out for them. I would actually have to put them tied at 3, Prairie View. I mean, that Southern went in there, and that was tough. Southern had a double-digit lead, and then Prairie View spanked Grambling State by double digits the previous game. So I'm gonna put Prairie View A&M in that number 3 spot for something. Coach Smith, I'm telling you that's a tough place to go in and win. And Texas Southern.
this is a big year for Coach Smith too. You know, we talk about coaches on the way out the door.
No, Charles, no.
Well,
Wait a minute.
I was telling you, this
Wait
is
a
a big
minute.
year for Coach Smith. Ever since Landon Bussey left as the lead assistant, Prairie View hasn't done all that much in 5 years. So this is a big year for Coach Smith at PVU. Off to a good start.
I got to call Dr. Cavill on that one. Wait a minute, Charles.
I'm just telling you, it's Prairie View hasn't been the same team since Landon Bussey was the lead assistant. Now, the first couple of years after Bussey left, that was some of his players that Bussey recruited. Some of them transferred here. Jeremiah Kendall and Jeremiah Gambrell. But just look at what Prairie View has done over the last recent years. Hadn't done much. You got a new AD. He's already made one change. Hey, sometimes 2 and 2 do equal to be 4. So I'm not advocating for anyone to get fired, okay? But we all know the politics and dynamics. Wheeler Brown knows this. New AD, every coach is going to be looked at and evaluated.
That's true. That's true.
That's just the way it is. You know, Coach Smith was there when Mr. Goff came in, Sandy Pugh. So let's just put that in your clip and save file.
Well, I would say Coach Pugh is in more trouble than Coach Smith. Just my opinion. Now, I think Coach Smith has done a little bit. Man, I'm telling you, and as Edwin said, when you talk about defense, that's their forte. That's it. I mean, but it's going to be, it's going to be a long race. But before you know it, Wheeler, you're looking at March, and then you're looking at the tournament. And by the way, the tournament is what, 10 teams this year, and then 12 next year. I guess, Charles, you said in the text message, it's the regular season is going to be kind of a lesser thing. I had to get a sip of an adult beverage when you text me that, because I'm big on the regular season, but all 12 teams. I gotta get on I gotta talk to Dr. McClellan. Is there going to be a stipulation to say the 11 to 12 team? Maybe have to have a plan or something. I'm just trying to wrap myself around all 12 teams. Being in the tournament.
And look for 10 teams.
That's tough too.
Yeah, it is. But just think about it. I was thinking about this the other day. What do you think the Mendoza line would be for the number 10 team? 5 and 13 to get to the tournament? I'm making a joke out of it, but seriously, when it was 8 teams, look, we go from 8 teams and the top 4 teams having a first round tournament home game. That used to be the format. To 8 teams again, and now you got 10 teams, and now next year you're going to have all 12 teams. How much importance will the regular season be? I think it will be if you're playing for a regular season championship. If you're near the top, it's going to be important, if you want to win that regular season. But if you're kind of a middle of the road team and you see with your team, you're middle of the road, you want to improve your seeding a little bit, but you want to stay healthy as you can. And as we've seen in this conference, crazy things happen in the tournament. We were a 2 seed. We got knocked out by A&M last year. So it will be interesting to see what those 9 and 10 seeds look like, going into Atlanta.
Wheeler, I don't know. I'm almost speechless. I mean, I'm trying to wrap myself around the 12 team, but then the 10. But then we get into that old discussion about how, and I saw it on social media, how can the conference and some of the other conferences get out of that play-in? Well, that, and I know Charles said some coaches like to play in and what have you, but we all know we you got to schedule smarter, you got to schedule a different way. But we've had this discussion for about 10 years or more.
Well, you already know. You already know, Carlos. Whoever wins the tournament's going to Dayton. You might as well book your ticket, Carlos. Get your ticket and go to Dayton. If we somehow find a way to make the tournament and win it, I got a ticket to Dayton in my back pocket. You might as well book it.
Somebody said in the chat room, in 2027, can we get back to 8 teams? Dr. Carey says regular season matters not now. Oh, shame on you. Where's the competitiveness for everybody? Where, Willer?
It's in the regular season.
You're a one-bid team. Put your one-bid lead. And so you would want the best opportunity. And I still think if you do it during the regular season, and I know I'm in the minority on this, that should be the best representative. Somebody could easily get hot in 2 or 3 days and come out of nowhere. And then what incentive is it to, if you know all 12 teams are going to make it, well, I guess you could say it's for seeding purposes. That's why you want to do well in the regular season.
I have a question for the athletic director for Wheeler Brown. All right, so let's look at today's landscape now. You got starting in 2026, all 12 teams are in. So your team, if you're an AD in this league, your team's gonna be in the tournament regardless of whether it goes 18-0 or 0-18.
Unfortunately,
right? He says unfortunately. Get the money ready.
Because I have an issue sending a 2-12 team to the tournament. You gotta earn that right. To me,
so my question is the evaluation of your coach. Okay, well, you made the tournament, you go 1-17, you make it to the second round, you make a deep run. How much does that factor into the evaluation, knowing that your team's gonna be in the tournament regardless?
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot. That's right, Willa. You evaluate on more than just what you placed in that tournament.
I'll pat you on the head because you made a deep run in the tournament. Okay, but how do we get in this position to begin with? The goal is to be in the upper third of the conference. I got to have you in the upper third. So I mean, it is what it is.
See, Dr. Cavill says, Willa, tell them to get out of the first 4. Conference member institution will need to increase
true too.
The budget by a minimum of $10 million.
That part is true too. But you're not getting that money that year. That money doesn't come to you for a couple of years.
And look, to answer EA's question, look, I'm gonna be personal here. I've been to NCAA tournaments when we were a 12 seed. Back when the late Davey Whitney was the coach, we played Stanford and Seattle. My mindset was, let's get the best seed possible. If we're an 11 seed, you see upsets all the time, the 12-5, 11-6, you see it. So let's see if we can get to that seed. Well, it just can't be one team dominating. It's got to be the whole conference, top to bottom, to do well to get that seed.
It does.
But when you talk to Landon Bussey and other coaches, and I have, Landon Bussey has confirmed to me by talking to the other coaches, they prefer the play-in route. They prefer to go to Dayton. They prefer to come out of Dayton. And you're going to take on the number 1 ranked, one of the top 4 teams in the country. Flink took on Purdue last year. They were the number 1 team in the country, number 2, whatever it was. That's the route that they would like to take. They don't want that route of being a 12 seed, because I think they know that that's probably not going to happen. So if it's Dayton, so be it.
Wow. I'm almost speechless again. Unbelievable. You remember I told you I talked to Coach Johnson, and I always kid him about those non-conference schedules and what they're told to do, right, Willer? What they have to do. You get my drift? What they have to do. Shame on you, Willer. Shame on you. But he did say, just like this season, Southern University has a non-conference win against Louisiana Tech and Tulsa. That's a good thing, wouldn't you agree? But now, when you come in conference play, you've got to basically go undefeated or no more than one loss in conference to avoid. And Coach Johnson said, you remember, I think it was last year, they had a couple of good non-conference wins. and he basically said if they would have finished stronger in the conference, because they had that collapse at the end, it was and of course Dr. McClellan now running that committee. Who's to say Southern University would have avoided that play-in? They would have avoided. So if Landon Bussey was in the same situation, I'm sure, Charles, he would have been happy to avoid the play-in, or he would have had sour grapes and said, no,
we call it.
Wait a minute, I'm not finished.
We call it a play-in, but you in that round, you're facing somebody that would have been seated right there where you are. So if you were a 15, 16 seed, you're facing another 16 seed for the right to move on to that next round. So it's not like, you're facing the number one team in the country right off the bat. So I see why the coaches want to go that route, because it's an opportunity for them to possibly get an early win, and get a share.
It's 50-50.
And get a share in terms of the March Madness dollars. So it's twofold there, Carlos. So you're not playing the number one team in the country right off the bat. You're playing somebody that's right there on your same level that you should have an opportunity to beat.
And what has it been that success rate? About 50-50? I don't even think it's been 50-50.
Might not.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't.
Might not. So it's not like I'm throwing you to the wolves at all.
Yeah.
You're facing another 15 seed or another 16 seed. You're facing somebody that could barely get in, just like I barely got in.
Wait a minute, you did throw them to the wolves. You just did it all non-conference. The majority of them. Oh, come on, Wheeler.
Well, I mean, we talk about
our mindset has to change. Oh my goodness.
we talk about money. I was talking with Charlie Neal last week. The game here was on HBCU Go, and I think Wheeler Brown confirmed this too. Was out there. Jackson State brought in $1 million in guarantees. See, Robinson said, "You bring me 8. Anything over that, you keep it." They brought in $1 million. He brought in $200,000 extra for his program. I'm sure that goes back in this program, so we can call, and I'm sure we're probably. I'm gonna guess and say we didn't bring in 8. I just
got him an extension, Carlos. Got him an extension.
Yeah, got an extension. Yeah,
got him a contract extension.
So on one hand, you got money for your program.
Work with me, I work with you.
Yeah.
We're going to have a discussion one time. Oh, my. Now, earlier, months ago, you said you got to have some balance with that non-conference schedule.
Some balance, Carlos.
So now, are you trending the other way?
You need some balance. But if you want to go overboard, I'll sweeten the pot for you. So it's just not a thing of you taking the brunt of everything. If you're going to bring in the extra dollars, that sort of thing, I'm not going to stop you if that's the way that you want to go. I'm going to help make the pot a little sweeter, and I'm going to take care of you contractually, okay, because I know that you're helping to take care of the entire athletic program and not just men's basketball.
You're on the front line.
I'm going to help you.
No, they're on the front line.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And they should be rewarded. How about now?
Definitely.
Incentives are you going to roll? Are you going to extend that contract based on? So maybe a 5-year extension.
I don't know about all that.
Oh, see, okay, all right. See,
let's not get carried away.
Well, let me clarify the 5 years, Carlos. Let me clarify 5 years. If you're being paid with state dollars in Mississippi, the most that a head coach can get is a 4-year contract. Now, you can bypass that if your coach's salary is paid for with your private foundation dollars, which I think in Mississippi State and Lane Kiffin got an extension beyond 4 years. If that salary is fully funded by the foundation, which is the private entity, you can give it as long as you want. But if you're being paid with state dollars, the most you can get is a 4-year deal. That is the most that you can get. So a 5-year deal, unless Jackson State's paying for Mo Williams out of the foundation, his salary's coming from the foundation. He can get as long as he wants. But for the most part, in our state, it's a 4-year deal with state dollars.
It should be also with 4 years, and you're bringing in that type of money, playing these guarantee games. Yeah, they should be rewarded even more.
Longer contract or more money?
Money. I'm always scared about rolling over those contracts. I gave the example of time with Coach Spivey.
Yeah. You've been snake bit on that.
Yeah. Now, if you gave him some money and some bonuses, then that's a different story.
But I mean, you got to meet the other benchmarks also now. So it's just not about bringing in guaranteed dollars. I mean, you got to meet the other benchmarks also.
I'm glad you said that, Wheeler.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think you will be a little more lenient when you're bringing in 10 or 12 games guaranteed.
Well, I mean, it's not going to hurt, but at the same time, the goal is to finish in the upper third of the conference. So I'm looking at that just as much as I'm looking at the fact that you brought in X amount of dollars from a guarantee point of view. Let's not forget the large picture on top of that small picture. So I mean, it's a combination of the matrix that's going to go into how much, how long, that sort of thing. So I mean, you can bring in $1 million a year. If we're the doormat year in and year out, that's not going to help me.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
That's not going to get it. That's not going to get it.
That's not going to help you.
No, that's not going to get it. That's not going to get it. No.
I'm being facetious, Will.
but you sure are bringing in the dollars, Carlos. I'm loving that now.
And we can't forget that. No.
At the end of the day, we got to rise up the ranks. We got to go up the ladder.
You had a coach at Jackson. You had a coach that was on the precipice of being let go. He had to finish in the top 4 in the last year of his deal. It was outside of 4. He had 2 home games. They were getting ready to make a move. He wins those 2 home games. He finishes 4th. He gets another deal. You had a coach in waiting on the sideline, ready to go. And so it's a bunch of stories behind that one too. Now that is absolutely correct. I mean, you had a coach on the sideline ready to go. He finished in the top 4. He's given another contract.
Wow.
It pays to be ready, Charles. It pays
to be ready. That's exactly correct.
Well, I guess I would think if I was an AD and I'm not, I would try to be coaching friendly. I understand the hardships. I understand our schools and where we at. But, and I remember we said it's now 2025. And so we should say some of the athletic departments, it seemed like they were operating still in the early 2000s. I understand things change. And, our schools have to change as well. But from a basketball standpoint, it's interesting that you've had some good out of non-conference wins over the previous years. Texas Southern has done it, Prairie View. But overall, we got to just do that every year and be even more consistent. But from what you're telling me, the coach, I would like to get those coaches on the record who believe that. We know Bussy. I could talk to Coach Johnson. I don't think let me not talk for him. I'll have to ask him specifically. Maybe I can ask him today. The play-in games. It's better to be in the play-in games. But boy, I tell you what, here I go. From a history standpoint, that time Southern University wasn't a 16 seed. Jackson State was a high seed in the NIT. And, some good victories. I just think we deserve to try to be the best that we can be. And I think that supersedes being in the playing game every doggone year. But
I agree.
that's just my opinion.
I agree, Carlos. I was in that camp for a long time. I mean, I was hoping and praying and wishing that one year we would be an 11 seed. And I know it's unrealistic, but in order to be an 11 seed, you got to have, as a conference from top to bottom, you got to have 5, 6 wins throughout the league, not just 0-14, 0-13, and then another team might be 6-6 with non-D1 wins. That was my thinking a while ago, but I've been slapped into reality. It's not going to happen that way.
You went on the other side, Charles. You're walking on the other side.
And so these coaches are saying, give me the play-in, let me get through that, and I'll take my chances against one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country.
Wow. I guess after the show, I'll go into the chat room and see how many people agree with that. Charles, I know it's almost time for him. He has the broadcast at 1 p.m. So we'll see you next week. We'll see you next week. Have a good broadcast. Willa, the schedule for today on the women's side, of course, is TSU at University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, Alabama A&M at Alcorn, which Charles is getting ready to broadcast that game on the women's side, Alabama State at Jackson State, Bethune-Cookman at Grambling State, FAMU at Southern University, and Prairie View A&M at Mississippi Valley State. That's both women's and men. And then Monday, it's only the men. Prairie View at UAPB, Alabama State at Alcorn, Texas Southern at Mississippi Valley State, Bethune-Cookman at Southern University. That ought to be a good one. They've kind of had Southern's number the last 2 times in overtime. You're right. Dr. Carey, good games today. FAMU at Grambling State Monday, and then Alabama A&M at Jackson State. Willard is still so young early in the conference situation, but we kind of see some things, trending in a certain direction. But again, I go back to Jackson State women, new coach. Coach Reed left the program in a great state. They are to bear watching. Alabama A&M, they are bear to be watched, and also Southern University. But as a director of athletics, we mentioned about Coach Pugh had great success at Southern University. Nobody can doubt that. But it's been rough sledding at Prairie View A&M. From an administrative standpoint, what do? You talk to her. Now you got a new AD at Prairie View A&M. Is she in that much trouble?
Well, I mean, you'd have to look at her total body of work since she's been there. Look at the funding, look at the resources, the whole 9 yards with that. Are we giving her everything that we need to give her in order to be successful? And if the answer to that question is yes, then we need to find another reason why she hasn't been successful. And, but you got to continually have that dialogue, with the coach. And, new AD coming in, this is Goff's his first year really in terms of, the total academic year, that sort of thing. So probably the first time that he's really getting to see Coach Pugh in depth. And, he might want to give her another shot, to kind of see if it validates his mode of thinking in terms of whether he needs to move forward right now. And but you set those goals, you have those conversations, with your coach. You find out what's going on. You got to feel at ease from an administrative point of view that you're doing all you can in order to help that coach succeed. And if the issue comes down to the coach just not being able to get it done, then you have to reach that point in time where it's time to pull the trigger, and hopefully you got a good hire in the wings, ready to come in, and you're ready to put your stamp on that particular program. But I've always been one, you want to work with what's there when you get in the door, but your major sports, you got to pay close attention to, and then you gotta try to keep it moving from there.
Let's see.
Fort Valley doesn't have a full-time AD yet, I don't
Yeah.
think, if I'm
Let's
not mistaken.
let's take a few questions and comments from the chat room.
Mm-hmm.
I'll read on here. Disagree on Coach Reed leaving the program in a great state. It's an entire new team, no returning players. It was what was it? It was a rushed hire, I guess he's saying. I don't think the cover's
But
bad
you got that
though at
legacy.
Jackson
You
State.
got that legacy there. You got that legacy there. The last 5 years or so have been excellent years for Jackson State. You got some residual just from that right there alone. You walk in here, there's still some ghosts lingering in the locker room. You looking up, you seeing those championship banners, that sort of thing. You're seeing that on a daily basis, and that's got to have some kind of withdrawal effect or whatever it is you want to call it. In terms of those teams or those players coming in and moving forward.
Yeah, well, I still say the program is in, as far as you say, the legacy and what Coach Reed has done. I still think they're not in bad shape at all. Good afternoon, Carlos, Charles, Wheeler, and guests. Coach Pugh is in serious trouble. I would agree. Just kind of based on what she's done at Prairie View A&M. Had much more success at Southern University. Now, you can't say Prairie View A&M as far as resources and facilities. They have all of that. Why she hasn't been more successful, I don't know. I'll have to talk to some Prairie View A&M alums, and then maybe they can give me a reason from the outside looking in. Also, yes, FAMU women basketball is playing Grambling on Monday. Yeah, that is correct. Sorry about that, but boy, let's see. Edwin says, Coach, there are no Coach Reed players on this squad. They all left. She and her staff did a heck of a job recruiting a squad after recruiting window. Maybe I'm just going on again what you said, Wheeler. That I just can't believe the program was left in bad shape. When a coach leaves and some of the players, they think so much of her, that they're leaving as well or going in the portal. I would agree. Yeah, she and her staff did a heck of a job recruiting a squad after the recruiting window. Again, you could say that also about TC Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of players left. It's the way it is now. And we even talked about, programs that are going to transport us so much, but he was able to put it all together and win a championship. I don't see a foundation with no returning players. Leave me a few good players, then we can talk about Coach Reed leaving a foundation. Come on, Ed, really? So you're saying that she left it in bad shape? I would believe she actually left the program in better shape than when she found it. And not to say that it wasn't it was a bad foundation or a bad program, because once again, JSU women's basketball, they have a legacy, just like the men's team.
If she had 13 players on that team, 14 players on that team, 14 players did not hit the transfer portal when she left out of there.
Well, graduation probably some.
Yeah, I mean, graduation probably took a few kids, that sort of thing. And you probably had maybe 3 kids or 4 kids that probably wanted to transfer elsewhere, what have you, that sort of thing. But I still say that, the person that they hired, I mean, you got to give her an opportunity. Give her an opportunity to come in and turn the roster over. So I mean, it's going to take a couple minutes. I didn't think that they would just come in and just continue the success that Tamika Reed had.
But they also
but you expected a foundation to be there. In terms of the way things are done, in terms of the way of doing things, all the little nuances that coaches need to have in order to help be successful. But I mean, you brought a coach in order to put her own stamp on the program.
Mhm.
You know, you got to give her an opportunity to do that. That's just not something you just do after 1 year or that sort of thing. You got to give her an opportunity to do so.
Well, they're off to a good start. I understand what everybody's saying. They all left, but it's still early on,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got a good coach that's in place
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough, Wheeler.
Yeah, it is.
It's
It
a
is.
success. I wonder who started
It
all
is.
this.
And you know, you can't put TC in that same category because TC was on Prime's staff. You
Mhm.
know, he had a hand in some of the kids that decided to stay. Matter of fact, a few of those kids probably decided to stay simply because he was made the head coach.
Mhm.
You know, so while he did a good job of ultimately turning the roster over, that sort of thing, he had a hand in probably 80% of the kids that were already there.
But he got the job done,
Yes, he did, no doubt.
and
Which
that's
which made it easier.
right, and that's the main point. You
Mm-hmm.
know, valid point. He was on the staff, but sometimes and then at one point he had got demoted. You know,
Uh-huh.
I'm glad he has so much confidence in himself to
Uh-huh.
say, "Hey, I can get it. I can get it done."
Uh-huh.
And he proved to get it done. And then just like
Mm-hmm.
now, which leads us into this, the
Mm-hmm.
impact of the transfer portal. Over 8,000 student athletes. Come on, Willa.
Whew.
Come on.
Crazy.
You, you know,
Crazy.
and we've talked about it. High school student athletes, they're getting recruited, but not like it was
Uh-uh.
because of the transfer portal.
Opportunity's not there.
Right.
Opportunity's not there.
So with that being said, because the climate is as such now that you got to win instantly, everybody goes into the transfer portal. Now we had Coach
Uh-huh.
Graves talking about they're more selective in how they go into that portal.
Uh-huh.
But man, it's the climate it is now.
Yeah.
It is, and so I would love to see the tradition come back, but I know it's not.
Mm-mm.
It's not.
Not now.
When and remember we had Coach Carlos James on the show and said,
Mm-hmm.
placed with the situation in front of him, he's going to take a player with 2 or 3 years experience
Mm-hmm.
compared to someone coming out of high school. And
Uh-huh.
that's just the way it is. And at least he was brutally honest about
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you have some coaches don't like to go that route. But then if they don't they don't win right away, they're blamed because, hey, you're going the route of, getting players in and developing them. Now you
Mm-hmm.
got players that are more developed, and that's who they're picking to come in to help the program.
Mm. But you're still going to have to develop them. I mean,
I agree.
especially those guys up front. You
Mm-hmm.
still got to do a bang-up job in terms of getting them prepared and getting them ready. You just hope that now, once you've gotten them ready, they're not leaving for greener pastures at the end of the year. Or you spent a couple years, getting that kid, getting his bench press up to 400 pounds or what have you, and his 40 down to 4.4 or 4.5 or what have you, and he makes all SWAC and maybe runner up for player of the year or something like that. Now you got to worry about whether or not he's going to come back the following year.
Mm-hmm.
Or is he trying to go for greener pastures, where you used to didn't have to worry about that at all. You were going to have a kid for, such amount of years, that sort of thing. You could take your time. You could have patience with them in terms of, developing them, that sort of thing. Now, once they get a bite of the apple, Carlos, they running out of there so quick, you can't even keep track of them.
Yeah, and you've seen some, if look out on social media, the young man from Alcorn, with kind of the ruling, giving the JUCOs an extra year.
Mm-hmm.
Some that declared that they were leaving. Now they're coming back, or they're going to another school for that last year. No doubt, it's, as the youngsters say, chasing the bag. It's it's all about the money. The quarterback from UAPB I was reading the other day. At first he was, and he put this out on social media, he was visiting a lot of FBS programs. Guess where he ended up going to?
Grambling.
No, Lamar.
Oh
no, you're talking about T-Set from Southern University. He ended up going to Grambling State, committing to them. But once again, this is the nature that we're in, and it looked like it started about 4 or 5 years ago. Well, you had scholarships, and it was honored for 4 years. Then it went to a year-by-year thing. But then you hear others say, well, coaches can always leave and take a new job. Even after they've recruited a class in, they can leave. So Joseph say, so T-Say may be on the center when the G-Men take on Ohio State in September in the horseshoe. Have mercy on that young man. I want to put this out here because Grambling State actually got a commitment from another quarterback who I believe broke a lot of records in Mississippi State. So it's no guarantee that he will be on the center. He still got to earn the starting position.
Gotta earn it.
And so, when you're bringing in these student athletes from the transfer portal, they've got to buy in. They really do. And Willie, you made a great point. You still have to develop. In spite of all of this, you still have to develop student athletes, no matter which program.
And T-Set would have been one of those that would have benefited from staying put. He should have kept his behind right there in Baton Rouge.
Well,
he had a good window, a great opportunity, that sort of thing. And, I think the competition would have done him well. Going into spring ball and, that sort of thing. And he probably would have won the starting job come next fall.
Maybe, Wheeler.
Maybe. But he would have been in the thick of things. He would have been in the running. He could have truly seen where he is totally. Now you get that reputation now bouncing around from school to school and all that sort of thing. Those things work against you also.
Well, speaking of that, and we wasn't on last week, I had him scheduled, Jalen Woods. And then the week before that, I had him scheduled and we were not on. But he told me he's ready. He accepts the competition and he's fighting. He's going to fight. And that's what you look at. And
that's what you want.
Yeah. And so competition throughout the ranks. Southern University has retooled with some commitments from offensive linemen and some pretty big boys. They've got at least 2, 6, 7, 300-pound plus. But again, once they get in, and they're from the transfer portal, but you also have 2 returning young offensive linemen that'll be in the mix. So competition is a good thing, and may the best man, best woman win, no matter what sport it is. Some good basketball games coming up. We've got about 10 minutes left on the show. We kind of went over them earlier, but when you look at this conference, I hope today, and I understand what Charles is saying, although I agree to disagree sometimes on that point. As a conference, you want to get better. That ranking. You don't want to always be at the bottom. And unfortunately, because of the way those non-conference games are played out, we talked about it, Will. I just think you have to have some balance in it, but that is not the case for most now. They're going to play 8 to 10 to 12 of those guarantee games, and that's just the way it is. Now, so Cedric Walker, I believe he's a Jackson State guy. At Carlos Brown, my only concern for Southern University is depth at the quarterback position. Come on, Cedric, you really concerned with Southern? Oh, no, I'm just kidding. Right now, they've got 2 on the roster. a young man from Southern Lab, won a state championship, and then of course, well, I was just talking about Jalen Woods. Now, talking to Coach Frederick, they're looking to bring in at least 2 more quarterbacks for competition, and they most likely will go through the portal.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be competition. So to your point, they realize that they've got to add more to the quarterback room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm not going to sit up and say, well, you only need 2. No. You got to bring in some more. But as Coach Graves said, O-line and defensive line is always where they're going to try to bring in
No
some
doubt.
people.
No doubt.
So I will be looking today. They got a big recruiting class in, and they normally come into the basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
You can identify them pretty quickly when you're still with the coaches. So I'll be having my eyes and ears, and February 4th will be here in less than a month. So
mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting. But Willa, I go back to my colleague when we were in Atlanta. He said he wanted how did he put it? AD said he wanted a game maker. Am I saying it right? Game changer at quarterback. I said I like one as a game manager. Yes, Joseph, I agree with that. So they need to bring in a minimum of 2 quarterbacks. That is their plan. That is their plan. But when you look at it, I want somebody who can manage the game and can make occasional plays. But he doesn't have to win the game by himself.
He ain't got to win it. Just don't lose it. He ain't got to win it. Just don't lose it.
And just like on the O-line, it's a team. You got, 5 linemen? If one breaks down, it could cost the other 4. And so, but my point is, quickly, talent. Yeah, you got to have talent. But sometimes it's not bad to have a team that maybe not as talented, but they play well as a team.
You got to know your role. Exactly. You got to know your role, know why you're there, and, bring the skill set that you bring to the table. Not asking you to be the man next to you or anything like that. You know what you bring to the table. Bring that skill set to the table, and then we're going to work around it and get the other pieces necessary in order to fill that puzzle out.
And I was so impressed at the Celebration Bowl with Jackson State's quarterback. He made the throws that he had to. He ran the game plan. And the previous week before, he had got banged up in the SWAC championship game. But he had command of the offense. Offense coordinator called a great game. He executed the game plan, and I was very impressed with him. And I was sitting there thinking about it. That's what I mean about a game manager. He managed that game very well, and he got the ball out to his playmakers. And as you stated, Willa, don't hurt. Yeah. The quarterback is like the point guard in basketball.
Yep.
And so
that's it.
Well, it is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, Willa, if we can dive a little bit in the FBS championship. You got Notre Dame and Oregon State. I think Oregon State's going to take it.
Probably so. Although I'd like for
I said Oregon, Ohio State.
Ohio State. I'd like for Freeman to come out on top. He's taken a lot of criticism on and off, some rightfully so, some not so. And I like to see him get his due. But Ohio State right now, they blue bloods and all that sort of thing and stuff, and so they feel like
and they've got and they paid for a great roster too, huh?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So but it should be a good game.
Mr. Farmer, I cannot tell you 3 candidates who applied for the Fort Valley State
University. Can I name 3 candidates who applied?
You can.
The current interim coach, he applied, and there are a couple other names I'm not at liberty to put out there because they are elsewhere right now, and that would kind of maybe jeopardize their standing where they are. But from what I gather from the people that I've talked with, there's a lot of uncertainty there at Fort Valley right now, especially with not having a full-time AD in place. And, with the state of Georgia system, you're not allowed to give like multi-year contracts, that sort of thing and stuff. So everything is year to year unless you're going through your foundation, or something of that nature. You're not able to give multi-year contracts. So that has a lot to do with the quote unquote, I'm not going to say lack of quality, but
it limits.
Some people are kind of scared off by that aspect. And I don't know if they found a way around that yet or what have you, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. They got some work to do though, in terms of beefing up the scholarship totals and things of that nature. Coach Gibbs and the last few coaches that were there did an excellent job, in spite of the discrepancies or what have you. And so I mean, as you can tell, Gibbs springboarded to a better position, that sort of thing. But they've been able to attract some quality candidates over the years. Like before Gibbs was hired, he and Barry were neck and neck for that particular job. Barry, who's at South Carolina State. Yeah. So I mean, they've been able to attract some decent candidates, and it's not a bad place to be. Great facilities, that sort of thing. Just got some nitpicking things that they need to work on.
Well, that's gonna do it. Producer extraordinaire says we gotta wrap it up quickly. I think of the new hires, Coach Jackson's probably has the most pressure to win and win quickly, but he's a confident guy, and so we'll follow and monitor his progress. Want to thank everybody for tuning in on the Coles Brown Show. Don't forget, every Saturdays at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Hit the like button if you care to do so, and hit the notification and subscribe not only to this show, but all of our shows on the Black College Sports Network. For A.D. Willa Brown, Charles Edmond, Coach Pettaway, and yours truly, have a great rest of your weekend, and peace and God bless.